Coming to you live from the Business RadioX studio, it's Franchise Marketing Radio, brought to you by IDS, an award-winning digital marketing agency that delivers integrated marketing solutions for franchisors, franchisees, and franchise development teams. Learn why over 75 brands depend on IDS's team of dedicated marketers and client service professionals to deliver a strong ROI on their marketing investment. Go to idsfranchisemarketing.com for a complimentary digital audit and consultation.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Franchise Marketing Radio. I'm your host, Rob Ganley. We're the show where we bring you engaging conversations with industry leaders and franchise experts. Today is absolutely exception, and we're going to get into a topic that we don't normally do, so please tune in. It's exciting. We are honored to have a distinguished guest who's making waves in the franchise world, has been for a long time, actually, but there's something very unique that we're going to talk about and why that is. But joining us on the show today, we have Adam Povlitz. He's the CEO of Anago Cleaning Systems, a renowned franchise brand that specializes in commercial cleaning. But again, there's something very elegant about this model we're going to talk about. So with over 30 years of experience, Anago stands out for its innovative approach to franchising, offering master franchisees expansive territories, multiple revenue streams, and the opportunity to empower others through small business ownership. So today we'll delve into that world. We'll talk a little bit more with Adam on that. So without further ado, let's ask Adam a little more. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Rob. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
You got it. I appreciate you. And so we'll go ahead and dive in. I know I mentioned some things there in the beginning and kind of teed up the idea of master franchising. And I know some folks in the audience, that might be a new concept. And I just think it's very important that we talk about it up front. And so first, maybe tell us a little bit about your history here with the brand, and then talk to us about this innovative idea that you guys have had from the beginning. And it's really helped develop this brand into a national force. So tell us a little bit about your journey here with the brand.
Sure. So my father founded the business back in 1989. I joined, it was 2009. So going on 14 years now. Was definitely not planning on joining the family business, but after a few years in the corporate finance world, my dad was like, "You got to check this out. You got to check this out." Finally did, and have been chugging along ever since. They were crazy enough to appoint me CEO back in 2015, and yeah, it's been fun. Every day is different. There's definitely no 2 days that are similar in the franchising space. So very exciting stuff. And yeah, you're right. It is kind of an odd model, let's just say.
Yeah, it's odd in a really elegant way. Like, as I told you earlier when we talked, I've been in the industry for 20 years, and and I was trained to understand business models and understand franchising. And my background's in finance too, and I quickly learned that wasn't me either. More of a sales marketing kind of guy, as you could probably already tell, right? But anyway, we got into the business and really understood what made a good model, like what makes a business scalable and lucrative and hey, a good lifestyle, and you feel good about it. And I started to learn how franchising, because franchising is doing that on purpose, right? It's a purposeful effort to take your business and become polished and make that available to others. And to do that, you really have to polish it. You really have to zero in on every detail. But you are, I think, the only brand I know of, and I'm not saying there's thousands of brands. I don't know them all. I know many, but I've only come across you guys that use this 3-tier master franchising approach, and I just think it's awesome. So I wanted you to explain it to everybody so they understand how that works and what makes that unique. Because again, you can come at it from a couple angles of ownership, which is unique to you only by offering this 3-tier option. So tell us a little bit of how that works and why you got into it and why you keep doing it and why you think it's so important.
Sure. Yeah. So for anybody who's going, what the heck is a 3-tier franchise model? That maybe we start there. So most people are familiar with a 2-tier franchise. That's probably the most common structure. So, the McDonald's corporate office and then the people who own the restaurants. Our model has 3 tiers. So, we have the corporate office. We have what's called a master franchise, and that's sort of a regional territory owner. And then we have a unit franchise, and these are owners of independent cleaning businesses. So the way it works and the way it becomes very profitable is, here, let's actually start here, Rob. when I say commercial cleaning, I would guess that the first thing that you and your listeners envision is, someone, when I say commercial cleaning, you go, a guy holding a vacuum or someone holding a mop and a bucket, right?
Yeah.
That is the kind of the visual that comes to mind. And that's a key component, right? Someone has to go in, physically clean the buildings, make sure the customers are satisfied, make sure everything's getting done. But where did he get that account from? Who's billing that account? Whose website helped attract that account? What happens when something goes wrong? Who do they call? And so what we did is we've discovered this way through our master franchise model, where essentially you can split the job functions. We call it essentially by like daytime and nighttime, right? So most commercial cleaning is done at night. And so that's our unit franchisee. They own a small cleaning business. They hire a crew, learn the chemicals, the equipment, clean the buildings, keep the customer happy. And then the master franchise is the day job, if you will, right? It's the daytime aspect. So they have the website. They hire the sales team. They're running the sales appointments. They have the daytime customer service folks. And then they also do the invoicing and collections of the clients on behalf of the units. So it creates a really cool synergy where essentially, one is doing the day job, the other is doing the night job, and the master franchise has 0 personnel that do cleaning, and the unit franchise has 0 personnel that have to do sales or billing and collections. So both are saving big time on the overhead while relying on the other to handle one aspect of the business for them.
Yeah, and it kind of just reminds me of a simple idea in business where you focus on your strengths. You will first identify your strengths and weaknesses, right? As a business, and you say, I'm good at these things, not so good at those. Many people will use outsourcing or other ideas to solve this problem, but it's good to recognize it. And you guys have not only recognized the idea of separating those two responsibilities because they're so different. And so a lot of people have strengths or weaknesses in either of those areas. And to separate them allows you to focus wholeheartedly, which makes you really good at doing that one thing. And just as a concept, if you can do that well, however you're achieving it, you usually see great results. Right. And that's like, again, you're saying that, but I don't think people hear that. I see it right away. I'm like, yeah, that wouldn't be a natural fit to do both of those, right? That would be pretty exhausting to try to do both. It's just two different things. And so if you could just focus,
I was going to say, I think the statistics, right, on a typical just like non-franchise small business are pretty bad, right? They're like, it's like 90% fail in the first 3 years. And then of those that are still around, another, 60% or something fail within 5 or 10 years. I mean, it's not great. You know what I mean? It's not great, and our hypothesis on why that is, right? Maybe you go, Rob, I'm a great cook. I'm going to start a restaurant. And everyone goes, yeah, Rob, you're an awesome cook. You nobody makes, pizza like you. And you say, I'm going to start a pizza store. And so you open a pizza business, and there's a huge gap between being a phenomenal cook, a phenomenal pizza maker, and owning a pizza business, right? Because it's like, okay, you know how to make a mean slice of pie, but what do you know about spoilage, inventory turnover, recruiting employees, HR, sales, advertising, all that? You know what I mean? So you go, wait a minute, that's kind of why small businesses fail, because good cooks don't necessarily make good business owners, and good business owners a lot of times aren't great cooks. And so we could have applied that thought process to cleaning, and you say, okay, the functional side of cleaning it's not rocket science, right? I mean, there are better tools and equipment to use. There's better chemicals, more effective processes, of course, right? I mean, there's professional ways to do things, and it's not just Windex and and silly stuff like that. But
maybe at home, right?
Yeah, exactly. But someone who has a very strong background in sales, marketing, can run a sales team, can manage a large business at scale. Usually it's just a different individual. It's a different skill set than someone who knows how to manage a large cleaning business. And so by separating it, you're right. You focus on each individual's strengths.
Yeah. And that's, again, the benefit of franchising is to work with companies that have had the time and focus on evolving that way where you can see those things. I'm sure at some point when the business started, there wasn't that clarity for your father that started the business, but very quickly you saw the separation of those things and how that could elegantly be structured and then rolled out in a very successful way. Now, how many units are you guys at now? Like what does that look like for you guys?
So we have just under 50 master franchises and then over 1,800 unit franchises across US and Canada.
Wow. See, I mean, that starts from one idea, right? So it's amazing. Well, cool. So let's talk more about this idea because I think it really highlights the sales and marketing aspects of things. Because that's the other thing I look at too. And when you look at the function of things like sales and marketing versus, say, finance and operations, you get into that same thing again, where it's hard for certain people to be good at all those things. They obviously need the playbooks. They need to know the best way to achieve things in a context, right, of what you're doing, like a cleaning business. But you guys have gone further with this idea of strengths and weaknesses because I know you do some of the marketing, you do some turnkey things to allow your franchisees to focus again on where they're focused, and you do this well, so they don't have to worry. But I know there's some marketing and sales related resources as well that you guys centralized, right? So maybe you could share more of that thought process as well.
Sure. So, so we all, if we don't all add value at each level of the franchise system, then, what's the point of it, right? And so, while the units focus on keeping the customers happy and cleaning, at the master franchise level, they're focused on the local marketing, the local, usually a lot of times telemarketing, some limited social media, that sort of stuff, in order to kind of hype the brand locally. And then at the corporate office, we're the ones doing kind of all the back end stuff. So we design all of the flyers. We're heavily invested in technology. We have a whole custom app called Anago Clean Source that we use that creates all the proposals for all of the franchisees. We have and then we also, it decided not to splinter our franchise brand on social media. So I happen to have the largest Facebook following of all of my competitors, I believe, combined today. And we're able to leverage that to find, people who are interested in becoming a franchisee, who are interested in our services. And you just can't get that without the scale.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, 1,800 businesses, right? That's a lot of businesses. So again, the idea of that is you focus on your part, we focus on ours, and that means for a business, someone seeking a business opportunity, you're given a path to proven success, right? And I know you guys have had some significant growth, some really breaking your own records, right? You have more. Your top people are higher than they were. You have more people hitting the $1 million club and things like that. Tell me a little bit about that. Do you have a certain goal as CEO? Is there I know you had a program. I think it was like a challenge program, like $100 million. Can you tell me a little bit about what your overarching driver is, and then how that trickles down to everybody and helps them be successful? Because if they're not successful, you're not. And so tell us a little bit about that program.
So at the beginning of the year, we actually we completed the $100 million challenge. We were at around 66 million in system-wide revenue. And we came up with a plan. It was a 5-pronged plan. And investing in people is ultimately what it came about. Coming out of COVID, we said, let's help our master franchisees hire additional sales reps. Let's invest in continuing education. So we partnered with the Dale Carnegie School for ongoing leadership and sales classes. We invested in an e-learning platform for our franchisees. There's a whole laundry list of stuff, but I challenged our franchisees saying, using these kind of 5 pillars, I'd like to grow revenue by 50% to reach 100 million within 24 months. And we did it in 19.
Wow.
And so I kind of put my neck out on the line this past February, actually. And maybe it's brains, maybe I'm crazy. But I challenged, we're actually calling it Vision 2028 now. And the objective is we've added 4 more pillars. So there's 9 total pieces to the puzzle here. And if you can imagine, like kids building blocks, 5 blocks on the bottom, 3 in the middle, 1 on top. And that's, further educational things, a world-class CRM that we're investing in, a national accounts program, lots of other stuff. The objective is to triple revenue to 300 million system-wide revenue by 2028.
Wow. That's a great vision. That's why I wanted to ask you, because just that you have it, right? You have a program, you have a plan, everybody's on board with it, everybody's understanding it. It's a common goal. That's what leaders do. And I commend you for that. I feel like if you put that out there, well, you already did it. You're like, oh, no, what did I do? I just put myself out there again. Why did you do that? Yeah. You could have just rested on your laurels, right? No, that's the beauty of franchising that I like, is there's always a vision to go forward. So tell me a little bit about, we talked about the master franchising model, and I wanted to kind of talk about that a little bit, because normal with most brands that are out there, again, it's like you said, it's 2 tiers, meaning you can become a local owner. You can even have multiple locations in a particular area where there's available areas. That's pretty normal. That's standard. The master franchise model is another tier. But the other aspect of being in the master franchise side of things is being more like the brand, right?
Right.
And, I was always attracted to brands because I always liked the concept of the idea of helping others get into business, right? So you're proud of what you're doing and it's working, and it's, you like what you're doing for your clients, and you're saying, I want to help others do this. And that process of being able to do that. So tell us a little bit about how the idea of empowering others to do what you guys do in different markets, how does that align with your overall vision or your values? Like, where did that come from? The desire to make that available to everybody, really kind of democratize what you guys have as a brand, right, and let others have that same benefit of feeling what you feel. Right. So how did that come about, and how does it align with your culture?
Yeah. So the name Anago actually has kind of a Latin Greek origin, and it literally means to guide or uplift. So it is sort of ingrained in our brand from the beginning. We actually we call them our 7 unifying principles that we kind of manage the entire business by. And the first one is believe in people. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice today for some reason. It is who we've been since our inception. That's been a focus. And then when you kind of think about it, there's probably tens of thousands of franchise brands across the country today, right? If you can dream it, you can franchise it. It seems like. And one thing we realized was, why do you think there are so many franchise brands? Because there's money in that franchise aspect of it, and how many other franchisors share in that kind of that additional revenue source of being the franchisor with their franchisees. And so we found, ultimately, if you're able to bring on people, help them learn your culture, your brand, and then also share in that being the franchisor, where it's, you represent the brand in Atlanta or Denver or wherever. It's a totally different point of pride for someone, first off. And then second, it helps them at the local level. There's only so much I can do from South Florida to help someone get into business ownership, across the country. Whereas if someone owns the Portland, Oregon market, which they do, and someone in Portland, Oregon says, "Hey, I want to get into the cleaning business. I understand the sales side is a little crazy, but I know how to do the equipment. I know the chemicals. Can somebody help me?" I can say, "Yeah, talk to Matt and Eric, is who own the Portland market. Hey, talk to those guys. They know tons about business. They can help you find clients. They can mentor you, coach you, show you how to be a better business owner." And help you improve, your life locally.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your expansion plans. You're 1,800, right? So now it's more of a game of where do we need to be and slicing and dicing. You're in a lot of places already, right? Tell me a little bit about how that looks for you as CEO. So you have the $300 million. So there's a couple things you're looking at. Obviously, existing units, really helping them. But then the part of that probably is also thinking about expansion as well. Tell me a little bit about how you do that, And, is there, well, I'll have a follow-up question to that, but tell me first about your expansion plans and how you pick and choose how that happens. Where's the priorities, in other words?
Yeah, so I think we did it pretty organically for most of my tenure here. Now we are having to get more strategic. What we're seeing is so if you were looking at a map of North America, I'm pretty solid in the East Coast. I'm pretty solid in the West Coast. I have this random gap throughout the Midwest, and I'm not particularly sure why. And it's just what leads have come to us in the franchise development world. But so our targeted focus is throughout the Midwest. So Illinois, Iowa. We actually just opened Nebraska, year and a half ago. That kind of Midwest corridor, and then also deeper into Canada. We really only were able to develop Western Canada thus far. So all eyes are on Toronto and Ottawa and those areas. But you're right. Same store growth is probably where the bulk of our focus is put on, because it's different. How do you, when I explain it to one of our master franchisors that just opened up, we just had someone open up North Florida. So they own from Gainesville, Florida, all the way across to Tallahassee, Florida. And cool area because all the educational facilities right between both universities, Florida State and University of Florida. So lots of businesses to target. But you explain to them, what are their goals in year 1, year 2, year 3, and you say, look, when you get to a point where you're at $1 million business, the air feels a little bit lighter. You know what I mean? The pressure on you isn't quite as heavy from startup to now you're $1 million business. And so it's making sure people understand that regardless of what territory they're in. We're having some success lately in smaller territories. I would call that, that's not, North Florida is not Chicago, right? I mean, it's,
right.
There is a disparity there. But the cost to operate in some of those smaller territories is significantly less, right? The cost to, run some advertising in Chicago versus Tallahassee is probably night and day. And so they're seeing very quick, they're quickly able to get to those million and, $1 million+ marks because not a lot of competition. It's typically mom and pops in the area, and the cost to advertise in the area is low. So it's, we'll if you bring them, we will find a fit for them if they're the right fit, of course. But we're kind of agnostic to which territory, and happy to find wherever people are living.
If there's businesses there, right?
If there's business there.
Yeah, right.
Is.
Yeah. Well, we've done a good job of populating the world with businesses and people, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's not slowing down. It doesn't seem. So there were a couple of things I was thinking about while you were talking. And one was, so you're helping the master franchisee. Well, before I get into that, I wanted to ask you about customer service, about the things the blocking and tackling that you probably do 10 times better than the local market. You kind of commented that there's a lot of mom and pops. So typically when you go into a market, your competition is typically independent businesses. And I've heard from a lot of home services businesses, let's say, as an example, in their world too, it's very similar where they have a lot of fragmented, like a lot of, mom and pops. And it's just common sense, they say. It's like we follow up and make sure the customer's happy. We ask for a review or testimonial. We make sure we go through the extra steps to make them a happy customer. And you hear them and you're like, well, yeah. And I guess the issue is many times in marketplaces, there's this unreliability sometimes with mom and pops, right? Maybe they have hiring problems or they're smaller. They let people down. So do you find that to be a common theme sometimes? And you guys come in and you're just checking all the boxes. And that's kind of why businesses really feel comfortable doing business with one of your brands in a local market. But do you see that? Is that what it's like? Where it's just, they don't do it well because they don't have the power behind them. They don't do what we said. They don't separate the strengths and weaknesses, right? But tell me more about that.
It's definitely a combination, right? There are plenty of companies out there that just aren't giving very good service, quite frankly. And then there's a lot that, they give the good service, they check the proverbial boxes, okay, we follow up and check in and we wish them the most success. Where we are able to differentiate ourselves is when something goes wrong. So for example, right? Pros to the business. You can't outsource this business to China. It's not going, Amazon's not going to come to town and replace us. Cons, cons, it has the human element in it, and the human element, if someone physically has to walk into the building and clean it, but humans make mistakes. We all do. It's inevitably going to happen in this industry. And so what we see is, say you go to a restaurant, you can have one of three experiences, right? You can have a delight experience, good food, good waiter, got to tell everybody about it. It's so great. You can have a bad experience, right? Waiter was a jerk, food was cold, or just sort of that middle of the road, like, it was fine.
It should have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
The food was hot. Thank you.
Yeah. But in cleaning, we only have two. There are no three experiences. Nobody goes, oh my gosh, my office is so clean, I'm going to go get my janitor a birthday present. Doesn't happen. So what happens is you have people who come into the office and they either sit down and go, well, I got to get to work, and they don't even think about the cleaning, or they sit down and go, why is my trash can still full? Why are there smudges all over my desk? What the heck's going on? And so we found that that's the opportunity in our business when we're best to make a friend. That's how you earn a customer for life. And so we created a proprietary software called CleanCom. And so if you have an issue in your office, you take out your smartphone, you go to myAnagoClean.com, you have a login for your office, you snap a picture of whatever your issue is. It's reported privately. You don't have to share cell phone numbers or anything like that. So it's private communication. The franchisee is required to respond to whatever your issue is within 2 hours, or it gets escalated to the regional master franchise office. They tell you when they're going to resolve it by. And by the way, if maybe you speak English, they speak Spanish or Portuguese or Romanian or whatever, it has built-in Google Translate, so you can type it in your native language, they can respond in their native language, and everybody understands what's happening. And that is how, you essentially allow people to go back to, all right, well, I got to get back to work, and for not thinking about their cleaning, just thinking about what they're at their job for, to make their own living, to grow their own businesses. And you eliminate that headache, and you do it quickly. That's something that sets us apart.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's there's a nuance in there. I feel it in technology businesses. It's like they expect something, and when it's not the way they expect it, it's just an instant reaction. If you give them an outlet to say, we can validate how you're feeling, and we'll make sure that this doesn't happen anymore, they can do that just systematically without emotion. When you give them a tool and say, here's what you do, and you respond well, and they know that you do. And then once maybe you respond one time to them, and they know, oh, that's reliable. And so they ever have to do it again. There's no pressure. It's just, hey, let them know. They'll take care of it. I always tell people in technology, things, there's so many details, right? I'm like, speak what you want. Don't speak what went wrong. We know what went wrong. The underlying thing is we want to make sure it doesn't happen again. But speak with what you want. So you're giving your customer the ability to say, I just don't want my desk to be dirty again. So that's all. Otherwise, they're just kind of disgruntled, and maybe they may make a negative comment about you guys. And then that's not good for you, right? Because then the franchisee doesn't even know that they're annoyed. And so this is brilliant because it just opens that door. It makes them feel better. It gives you the input you need, and you keep moving forward. But I think there's a lot to say about doing that, because otherwise you would just be irritated and probably not say anything, right? And then, or complain. Eventually it builds up, and everybody's complaining. Right. Bob in the corner office, and this person, and then it's just like it could all been avoided by just, here you go, here's an app,
right?
And that's great. That's awesome.
And to take it one step further, we built it with preventive analytics. So if I get, if a regional owner master franchise owner gets, say, maybe 3 complaints about a particular franchisee, and they happen to be in bathrooms, they can pull that franchisee in and say, hey man, let's get you retrained on how to properly handle bathrooms, because you've gotten 3 complaints on that in the last 2 months. And that minimizes any potential complaints going forward. So you keep the complaints to, when they do happen, you resolve them quickly. So people go, okay, I can move on. And then you minimize them from happening again in the future, because when you see them, you red flag them and coach the people to improve in that area.
And just hearing that, I would buy from you. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, well, I know humans aren't perfect, but what I always look for, and I think everybody's the same, is that you have a plan for always getting better, right? I mean, in recognizing mistakes and fixing them, that's all, right? And that's a great plan. And you got technology, you got a plan, you got a process. So you got, that's beautiful. So I wanted to kind of wrap things up, but I wanted to ask you a kind of a two-pronged question. You have we talked about this 3-tier model a few times. So you have a master franchisee, you have 50 of those guys, and then you've got the 1,800 businesses. Tell me about the candidate. Let's maybe just think about the master franchisee, and if you have time, you can mention the unit level. But is there something you look for that has the DNA for that kind of a role, the one of the 50? So that recruiting process, if anyone in the audience is interested, like, what are you looking for? What are the attributes you think are important for someone to have to be successful as a master franchisee?
First and foremost is drive. It's the old, excuse me, man, I'm rough today. It's the old African proverb, where every morning the lion wakes up and has to be faster than the slowest gazelle, and the gazelles wake up and have to be faster than the fastest lion, but everybody wakes up running. It's someone who is hungry every day. This is not it's not a farmer franchise model where, if we build it, they will come. This is a hunter franchise model. So it's, what can I sell today? What can my sales team close today? It's someone who's very driven like that. And then capable of managing a large scale business. I mean, when you're talking $3, $4, $5, $6, $7 million, you have a sales department, customer service department, accounting department. You need to be able to understand to some level the facets of the business. And a lot of that, look, we can train on. But if I had my way, I think, I forget which personality profile. We're big on personality profiling. And I know in the consulting world, they use a lot of that. Ours are, the people who are what are called achievers, someone who wakes up every morning is like, what can I do? My wife joked, we just had our third baby, and I was took a few weeks off, and I created my own honey-do list. She's like, what are you doing? Like, I'm like, we gotta clearly clean up this furniture out back, and I gotta mow over here, and I've been putting off this project. I literally had 24 projects to knock out because I was home for 2 weeks. I'll go to a hotel, we'll go on vacation, and halfway through the vacation, I'm talking to the staff about buying a franchise. It's someone who doesn't shut off. Those are the most successful in our model, where it's like, ABC, always be closing.
Well, I just wanted to I don't want to interrupt you because you have more probably to say, but I just wanted to say that is what you're describing is funny, because you have to have that drive, right? And some people simply don't have it. And again, I just kind of laugh because I don't know how to do it differently. Like you said, I always tell my kids, like when we've talked about careers and their future, do what you love. Do something that it isn't work, because you're going to do it anyway a lot. I mean, no matter what we do in life, our work takes a lot of our time. So we might as well just enjoy it. So like, when you say I worked over my vacation, I say, don't separate it. Just understand. I mean, you need to unplug. You need to spend time with people you love. That's a different sort of conversation, how you handle that. But you can do both, right? Yeah. You can have an integrated lifestyle where you can enjoy both. And it's just like, but that's cool, because you need people that feel that way. Not everybody does. They just think it's separate, and I can only work now. And you have to be willing to just work because you enjoy that effort of making things better. Yeah. And that's what's awesome about being in franchise.
When I was back at IBM, I used to work in corporate finance. That was when it was the big work-life balance. That was the movement. It was early 2000s. And then IBM was one of the first places, maybe it wasn't IBM that coined it, but somebody said they called it work-life integration. And I, at the time I was a young guy, I'm like, oh, that just means you have no balance.
Yeah.
Now as a CEO, I go, that's the only way. You have to be able to, if I got to leave because my daughter's got a dance recital or something like that, I'm going to go. But at the same time, if I got stuff to do it's 8 o'clock at night and I got to work an hour, I'm not afraid. It doesn't bother me to work an hour because I can also, if I come and go as I please, I need to be at something for my kids or home for dinner, I can do that and just integrate. And why does there have to be a wall between those two parts of your life?
Yeah, I think the technology is showing us there doesn't need to be any more. And so we're evolving as a culture, I think. But I'm glad to hear that's how you think. I think philosophically it's the way to go, and we can make our lives a little easier if we just look at it differently. Well, cool. So before we end the conversation, I always like to give an opportunity for you to share the best way to get a hold of you guys. If people are interested, one, in the commercial services you offer around cleaning, and two, in the idea of building one of these amazing businesses in their market. How would they get a hold of you?
Easiest way is standard website and phone number. So phone number is 800-213-5857. And there's literally, I don't want to sound, like a QVC commercial, but there's not operators standing by, but there's definitely our director of master franchise sales available to have a conversation with anybody about that. And otherwise, if you're just looking for more information, it's anagocleaning.com, ANAGO cleaning.com. And then you can find all about our services, all about our master and unit franchise opportunities, whatever piques your interest.
That's awesome. I always encourage people to check things out, especially when you talk to guys like you or anyone on your team. It's like an education, and no matter what, it's the best time you'll spend. So I encourage everyone to reach out and learn more. But thank you for sharing. And Adam, thank you for sharing with everybody a little bit more about what goes on with Anago. And I like that about your brand. I didn't realize the meaning of the name there. So very cool. And so I appreciate you being on the show today. And for our listeners, thanks again for listening, and bye for now.